The musical genre in film is something that is instinctively recognizable and accessible to a variety of audiences. Genre itself refers to the method based on similarities in the narrative elements from which films are constructed. The narrative elements refer to a variety of areas in which a film can be portrayed. For example, the setting is the background or environment where the story and action takes place. There's also themes that refer to the issues or concepts that the film revolves around. There's mood, which is the emotional tone of the film. And lastly, format refers to the way the film is shot or the manner of presentation. Additional ways of categorizing film genres is by its target audience or by type of production. Musical film is a specific film genre in which songs sung by the characters are interwoven within the narrative. By the 1920s, several studios were experimenting with sound. One such studio, Warner's, took a gamble on the Vitaphone, a system which coordinated filmed images with sound recorded on large phonographic discs. It was primarily used for musical scores accompanying the visual, as the Vitaphone's strength was that it could fill large theaters with a relatively clear sound. Harry Warner even said, "Who the hell wants to hear actors talk? The music, that's the big plus about this." In 1923-4, musical short films were made by Lee DeForest. The earliest feature-length films with synchronized sound had only a soundtrack of music and the occasional sound effects that played while the actors portrayed their characters just as they did in silent films, without any audible dialogue. Many film studios were actually against sound, including MGM, Paramount, and Universal Studios. Richard Barrios, who studied this, said that their general agenda was that the threat of sound should be officially ignored, or at least forestalled as long as possible. Warner Brothers' film The Jazz Singer, released in 1927, was the first full-length feature to include recorded song and dialogue. They had gotten superstar Al Jolson to be one of the actors and decided that if people were going to come to see him, they couldn't go without listening to him sing, thus causing them to add songs to the film. This started the outbreak of sound films. People stopped watching silent films. Almost all of Hollywood's early sound films included a few songs. Musicals grew to the point where the genre was easily identifiable within film, where we identify using the repertoire of elements. These include iconography. This refers to specific images or sound that are related to the genre. For example, in musicals, you'd expect there to be a lot of musical singing scenes. Narrative. This refers to the typical storyline that is expected of a genre. For example, the typical romance is expected to have the two people end up as a couple in the end. A musical is usually sentimental and amusing, with a simple but distinguished plot, offering music and dance. You can see this looking at Les Miserables. Though it comes across as being meant to be about a serious event in time, it does not seem as such when watching it. Though there are moments when the audience may be distraught, it usually stays light. Setting. The setting refers to where the movie takes place, like how a sci-fi film usually takes place in outer space. For a musical, the setting is very broad, as they can be in many places, from a school, like High School Musical, or a city, like Chicago. However, in all of these, there is realism to them. The film never goes anywhere that isn't common or accessible by people. A musical would never take place in outer space, as it isn't accessible by most. In line with A. Berger's principles, one can say musicals draw inspiration from its forerunner, theatrical performances. Having been derived from actual musicals, the setting in musical film tends to stay in the same place. Places are often revisited multiple times throughout the film. Theatre musicals had to make their own stages, so locations were kept to the minimum. This went on to influence film musicals. Also, musicals are often described as being a video depiction of theatre. The characters tend to be highly exaggerated and melodramatic. This is because in theatre, as it was far from the audience, the performers had to overstress their actions so everyone could see them. This is translated over to film despite the advances in technology.